14,400 years ago, somewhere in what is now northeastern Jordan, a small group of hunter-gatherers made bread. Not farmers, not villagers with wheat fields behind them. Hunter-gatherers. People still moving through a wild landscape, taking what the season gave them. And inside the remains of a stone fireplace at Shubayqa I, archaeologists found charred crumbs of a flatbread-like food. The strange part is that they were making it thousands of years before agriculture arrived in that region. Which means one ordinary supermarket food has a shadow version older than farming itself. And that matters, because almost everyone carries a cartoon of the ancient diet in their head. Maybe it is a caveman tearing into meat. Maybe it is a perfect bowl of berries, nuts, and lean protein. Maybe it is a clean world before snacks that whisper to the oldest parts of your brain. But before supermarkets, humans did not eat one perfect diet. They ate the world. Here is the first thing to let go of. There was never one ancestral menu. There was no official Paleolithic breakfast, no single meat-to-plant ratio, no magic number of carbs, fat, or protein that every healthy body was designed to follow. There was only ecology. Near a coast, food could mean shellfish, fish, and coastal plants. In the Arctic, it could mean marine mammals and very little plant carbohydrate. In savanna woodland, it could mean tubers, berries, baobab, honey, seeds, and game. In 2021, Herman Poncer and Brian Wood described human diet as something shaped by evolution, ecology, and economy, not by a single frozen blueprint. And in 2017, Alyssa Crittenden and Stephanie Schnorr warned that modern hunter-gatherers are not time machines. They are real people on particular landscapes with particular histories. So the question is not, what did cavemen eat? The better question is, what could a human body learn to survive on if the world kept changing? And the answer is, almost everything. For a long time, the popular image of ancient eating was built around the hunt. Spears, mammoths, meat in the firelight. And hunting mattered. Meat mattered. Animal fat mattered. No serious version of this story erases that. But the ground keeps giving up a quieter record. In 2004, Ehud Weiss, Mordecai Kislev, and Anat Hartman published work from Ohalo II, a site near the Sea of Galilee, dated to about 23,000 years ago. The site preserved more than 90,000 plant remains, wild cereals, fruits, nuts, and other gathered foods. Then, in 2010, Anna Revedin and colleagues found starch grains from wild plants on grinding tools in Italy, Russia, and the Czech Republic. They were about 30,000 years old. 30,000 years ago, people were processing plants, grinding hard, fibrous things into something softer and more edible. Even the Neanderthal story is not as meat-only as the cartoon. In 2011, Amanda Henry, Alison Brooks, and Dolores Piperno found plant microfossils in Neanderthal dental calculus, including evidence consistent with cooked plant foods. The old world was not a steakhouse. It was a workshop. Hands digging, stones grinding, fire softening, teeth carrying tiny fossils of meals that vanished tens of thousands of years ago. Now move into the living record. The Hadza of Tanzania are often used in discussions of foraging life, but they do not eat one thing. Their diet moves with the season. Tubers, berries, baobab, meat, honey. In one 2014 study by Stephanie Schnorr and colleagues, about 70% of annual kilocalories came from plant foods. Herman Poncer's work also reported that during his study period, over 95% of Hadza calories came from wild foods. That is a world before supermarkets in the literal sense. Not a brand, not a diet plan. Wild food. Then look at the Zhuangzi Kung, made famous in Richard Lee's classic 1968 work. The dependable foundation was not always the dramatic hunt. Gathered foods often carried the day. Then turn to the Arctic, where traditional Inuit diets could be built around fish and marine mammals, with far fewer carbohydrates than a tropical forager might eat. Then turn to the Tsimane of the Bolivian Amazon. They are not pure hunter-gatherers, but their lives still show what a low-industrial food system can look like. In 2018, Thomas Kraft and colleagues described their diet as about 64% complex carbohydrates with low fat intake. So if someone tells you the ancestral diet was low-carb, the Tsimane complicate that. If someone tells you the ancestral diet was plant-based, the Arctic complicates that. If someone tells you the ancestral diet was meat-heavy, Ohalo II, the grinding stones, the Hadza, and the Kung complicate that. The human pattern is not purity. The human pattern is flexibility. Then came farming. But even here, the story is not simple. Agriculture was not one switch flipped in one place. Researchers like Melinda Zeter describe domestication as a long, uneven process. Farming gave humans storage. Villages could grow. Populations could rise. But the bargain had costs. Bioarchaeologists studying early farming populations have often found reduced stature, more dental disease, infectious burden, and crowding. So agriculture was not a fall from Eden, but it was not paradise either. It made food more storable and scalable. It also narrowed many diets around fewer staple crops. And still, evolution did not stop. In 2007, George Perry and colleagues showed that variation in the AMY1 gene, linked to starch digestion, tracks with histories of starch-rich diets. Your body is not a museum exhibit from the Stone Age. It keeps changing, which makes the real mismatch more specific and more modern than the internet usually makes it sound. Walk into a supermarket now. For most of human history, sweetness meant timing. Fruit ripened and disappeared. Honey had to be found, climbed to, dug out, fought for, shared. Fat was precious. Starch took work. Food was wrapped in effort. Now, it is wrapped in plastic. The modern food environment does not just offer calories, it offers cues. Packages designed to catch your eye. Foods built from combinations rarely available together at this intensity. Refined starch, sugar, fat, salt, softness, crunch, speed. In 2019, Kevin Hall and colleagues brought people into an inpatient setting and gave them either an ultra-processed diet or an unprocessed diet for 2 weeks at a time. The meals were matched for presented calories, sugar, fat, sodium, fiber, and macronutrients. And still, when people were eating the ultra-processed diet, they consumed 508 plus or minus 106 more calories per day. They gained 0.9 kilograms in 2 weeks. On the unprocessed diet, they lost about the same amount. That is not a sermon. It is a controlled experiment showing that the form of food can change intake, even when the nutrition label looks surprisingly similar. And this is where the shame story starts to break. Because if the ancient world trained your appetite to value dense energy, and the modern world surrounds that appetite with foods engineered to be fast, rewarding, soft, cheap, and always available, then just use willpower is not an explanation. It is a way of blaming the person standing inside the experiment. Researchers like Hans Rudolf Bertaud have described appetite as a negotiation between metabolic need and reward. You do not eat only because your cells require fuel. You also eat because food is comforting, available, remembered, seen, wanted. That wanting is ancient. In a world of scarcity, the human who ignored sweetness, ignored fat, ignored salt, ignored the signal of easy calories, was not morally superior. They were in danger. Your ancestors did not survive because they were indifferent to food. They survived because the brain built systems to notice it, seek it, remember it, and say yes before the opportunity vanished. The problem is that the opportunity no longer vanishes. The aisle is always full. The package does not run away. The fruit does not disappear after one season. The honey does not require smoke and stings. The calories wait under artificial light, speaking a language your nervous system learned long before words. So, no, the lesson is not that you should eat like a caveman. There was no caveman diet. The lesson is that you are a flexible omnivore, living inside an inflexible food machine. Your body was built for variety, seasonality, effort, and scarcity. It was not built for a world where every ancient craving can be answered by a barcode. That does not mean you have no agency. It means your agency is not happening in a neutral room. It is happening inside an environment that presses buttons older than civilization. And if you have ever stood in front of a pantry at night, pulled by something you could not quite name, maybe that was not proof that you were weak. Maybe it was proof that an old system was doing exactly what it was built to do. Looking for energy, looking for safety, looking for the next rare thing before it disappeared. Only now, the rare thing is everywhere. So when people ask what humans ate before supermarkets, the honest answer is not a list. It is a map. Some ate tubers, some ate fish, some ate seal, some ate berries, some ate wild grains, some ate honey when they could get it. Some ground plants into flour 30,000 years ago. Some made bread before farming. Humans were never pure. We were adaptable. That was our genius. And maybe that is why the supermarket is so hard on us. It does not attack one weakness. It attacks one of our greatest strengths, the ability to want whatever the landscape offers. For most of history, the landscape offered food slowly, unevenly, season by season. Now, it offers everything at once. And under the clean white lights, your ancient appetite is still doing its old work. It is reaching toward abundance. It just does not know that abundance learned how to reach back.